Hello and welcome to Chick Days with Stockdale's. Today we have with us John Houston, Director of Business Services for Protrition Feed. We're going to be learning about chicken biology today, and we're glad that you've tuned in with us. John, tell me about how chickens are different from other animals biologically.
Well, when you think about farm animals and you think about chickens, chickens have a high, very high metabolic rate. If you think about my resting heart rate somewhere in 70, 75, a chicken's heart rate's going to be at 250 beats a minute, maybe 350 beats a minute. So very high metabolism. When you think about the way that they're different, but just because of that, that makes them different than other farm animals that we would have in cattle or sheep or goats or hogs or whatever. And you think about their temperature, our normal temperature being about 98.7. Their normal body temperature is going to be in that 107 degree range. So when you think about the way that they would have to cool themselves, you think about chickens having lungs. They do have lungs, but they're very small. But what they have are 9 air sacs, and have 4 pair and then 1 large air sac. And so they cool themselves through an evaporation process, if you can think about it that way. So much different than other animals we might be taking care of on the farm. If we keep that in mind, then we will know better how to take care of them and care for them each day. So.
Wow, I wish my metabolism was that great. What about the physical attributes of these birds? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, when you think about chickens, and if you've ever been around chickens, you'll know this, but very, very keen eyesight, very keen hearing. And so you don't sneak up on a chicken very easily, if you will. So we keep that in mind from an animal behavior standpoint. And the fact that they do have a pecking order. And so from an animal behavior standpoint, knowing that helps us care for them even better. One of the things that people don't know probably is that chickens don't taste or smell. And so if you've been around chickens, they'll get into anything and they will eat anything. So because of that, though, we get into chicken owners, laying hen owners, having preferences on feed types and feed, the way feed is made, whether it's a pellet or a crumble, and whether it smells this way or that way. That's all preference to the owner. Really, the chicken doesn't know the difference between something that's apple flavored or something that might be berry flavored or whatever. So most chicken feeds are just grain mixtures that we don't really get concerned about how they might smell or how they might taste.
That's really interesting, John. What should I know about the digestive system of my birds now that I've taken on this project?
Well, obviously, chickens have a very unique digestive system. And if you think about, we talked about not smelling or tasting, you think about the stomach of a chicken. It's very small. And so as we feed these birds, they store that feed in what's called the crop. And so, and then move that feed stuff into the stomach as they need it. They also have what we call a gizzard. And so the gizzard is a strong muscular apparatus that helps grind that feed stuff. And between the gizzard and the grit that we feed, maybe some gravel that they pick up or some sandy type products that they pick up, that will grind that feed. So a little different than feeding a ruminant animal or a simple stomached animal like a pig. As we feed chickens, that nutrient product has to go through a different process before it can be absorbed. And remember, in particular with hens, that they have a very high requirement for calcium. And so as they're making eggs and egg shells, they're depleting that calcium that they have stored up in their bone structures. So supplementing calcium is always an important thing to keep in mind for hens. So these birds do have a different and unique way that they process feedstuffs. And if we're mindful of that, we can care for them once again in a much better way.
Yeah, it's very important to be mindful of what you're feeding your birds and making sure you're following that balanced diet that they need. John, do you have anything else that you want to share with the viewers today?
Well, just a couple of things. One, as far as the way that the chickens can utilize an amino acid complex. They can very easily use amino acids, and so we can use those, which are the basic building blocks of proteins. And so we have a little added benefit as from a nutrition standpoint when you're formulating diets to be able to use those amino acids. One other thing I would mention that comes, it's totally separate from what we're talking about, Lindsay, but it came in a question from one of our previous episodes that I wanted to address, and that had to do with safety of heat lamps. And there's been some fires that this person commented on, and it is important that we turn those heat lamps off maybe daily, get the dust off of them, make sure there's no bedding and no hay and no shavings around those heat lamps, because they do get hot and they can cause things to catch fire. So be mindful of that. Thank you for that question.
Thank you. Guys, thank you for joining us today for our Chick Talk video with John Houston, Protrition Feed. We hope that you visit your local Stockdale's location for all your chick care needs and product expertise.